Hello, you're listening to a Doctor Who show spin-off podcast, The List Makers. I'm Dave.
And I'm Rob.
This is episode 40. 40, Rob!
Oh.
40 lists we've each made.
That's incredible.
That is incredible. We've got so many more to go. Listeners, I hope you're enjoying this, but our topic for our 40th is Top 5 Classic Who season openers from listener Dylan Mooney.
Hello, Dylan, if you're listening.
Hello, I hope he's listening.
Yeah,
having put this in.
Yeah, we're doing your bloody list, Dylan. Come on.
Now, Rob, when we drew this topic out of Tello's Hat of Rassilon last month,
Yes.
I said, well, there's only 25, maybe 26 possible options here, unless one of us has done something really bizarre or are very creative, and that's always possible. But Dylan was pretty prescriptive. I thought, we'll see. If we haven't, that means that mathematically there's a, 20% chance of snaps?
Oh, yeah, and when you discount some of the openers that are stinkers that I'm sure we haven't picked, hello, Time and the Rani, if you're listening, it becomes even tighter. So, yes, I think we're going to snap an awful lot, Dave.
In fact, I can see our potential top two being snaps. We will find out. And we'll find out now.
Okay.
Because it is my turn to go first, and I will make my list. Top 5 Classic Who season openers. Number 5, I ummed and ahed about for a long time, because it's not necessarily one of my favourite stories, but when it comes to season openers, it's hard to not have it up there in the pantheon. So my number 5 is The Leisure Hive, which opened season 18. Mm-hmm. As I said, it's not my favourite story. I don't dislike it. I think there's a lot to merit it, but it is a proper season opener. From the moment the first revised titles come in with the new music, with the new graphics, the new Tom costume, the new vibe, the new tone, the new direction, it's all new. And this is saying this is a new and different season of Doctor Who. It is designed to be an opener to grab you in that way, to tell you where the season's going. So I had to have The Leisure Hive in at number 5, even if it's not one of my personal picks. And I'll talk a little bit later about what it knocked out.
Okay.
Number 4, I have gone with Tomb of the Cybermen, opening season 5. This is a classic story. It is one of my top 2, possibly my absolute top Troughton story. So it's a good story. It commends itself on that level. Mm-hmm. But it also is an opener that grabs you. It brings back a popular monster. The Cybermen are back for their 3rd appearance and one of their best appearances. So that's going to grab in the audience. But whilst I think that season 5 gets too much flack for being the same story every time, there is, of course, a theme and a trend and a tone and a type of story you're going to see across season 5. The monster season, the base under siege season. And Tomb of the Cybermen sets that up and says, this is what we're doing this season, folks. So strap yourselves in and get on board. You're going to be with a lot of monsters in a lot of bases that are under siege. So I think that just ticks so many boxes.
Yeah.
Number 3 is the opening of season 8, and that is Terror of the Autons. Mm-hmm. Again, it's just one of those Barry Letts season openers, and he does this so many times to just go, how do we get the audience in from day one? And in this case, you've got the returning monsters, the Autons. You've got Robert Holmes. You've got the introduction of the Master, who's going to be the big villain of the season. So you're setting again up the tone of the season. It's going to be a unit type season. It's going to be one with the Master. It's going to have a particular vibe, a particular feeling. And it's also an absolute cracker of a story that just gets the audience in. And just from those opening moments, you're at the circus. A TARDIS arrives. A TARDIS looking like a horsebox arrives. Then this guy gets out. He's just in charge from the first moment. Then he's stealing a Nestine unit. And then, oh my God, where do we next? What a great opening. So Terror of the Autons at number 3.
Okay.
Number 2, Remembrance of the Daleks, season 25. We have, Rob, a cold open. Mm-hmm. The Earth's hanging there. We're in 1963. Speeches. The music swells. It gets chilling. A great big huge spaceship just edges into view. The title's open. It says Remembrance of the Daleks. We know what we're in for. What better way to open a season? And it also helps that it is in my view, one of the top 2 McCoy stories. It's after the worthy but not great season 24. This is the one that says, okay, that was a bit of a rush job. It wasn't perfect, but we've fixed it now. McCoy knows what he's doing. We've got Ace in here now. We've got Daleks. We've got a great script. And this is where the McCoy era is going. So strap yourself in. Great season opener.
Now we're coming up to number 1, Dave, and there are 2 great season openers I can think of, and you can only have one.
I wonder if it's one of the 2 you're thinking of. let me know in 4 seconds, because I'm thinking of Spearhead from Space.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. Spearhead from Space, season 7. We're back with Robert Holmes. We're back with the Autons. But again, this is the story that when I think about launching Doctor Who is just it. And look, the chaps over at 500 Year Diary were having exactly this conversation, and Australians, I think, of our vintage will just remember that every repeat season seemed to start with Spearhead from Space. So it has that feeling in Australian fans' heart. But we are back. We have new titles. We're in colour. We have great music. The Doctor suddenly arrives. He's in a wood. What's going on? The Brigadier's back. We've got a new companion. We've got this mysterious alien race, this spooky alien race. It goes on then to be a cracker of a story. The Doctor, by halfway through part 2, is absolutely there. Although he hasn't quite refined his character yet and will evolve, he is certainly in charge. He's certainly in the Doctor. Dr. Liz Shaw, great companion. The Brigadier is great. It's on film. It looks spectacular. It's one of the best looking classic stories ever. That is a way to grip the audience in. So, Rob, I suspect this will be a snap for us. Number 1, Spearhead from Space.
Overall, we had 4 snaps, Dave.
Wow. It'll be interesting to see what the one I didn't have was.
And the one that we didn't have, which is my number 5, which I'm about to get to, is the one I'm wondering is the one that you bumped for the Leisure Hive.
Well, we'll discuss that after you make your list, Rob. Go ahead.
All right, Dave. In at number 5, season 15 kicks off with the horror of Fang Rock. And we've had a lot of Fang Rock discussion here on the podcast over the years, Dave, and even a few months back, you and the boys in Melbourne did a Gin and TARDIS episode about it. And I think whenever we've had a chance to mention it, we've always been pretty glowing about it. I think it's one of the great Tom stories. I think it's one of the great 70s stories. I think it's one of the great classic era stories. And for it to be a season opener on top of that, boom, we have a great season opener here. No 2 ways of looking at it, frankly. That's my number 5.
Okay, we have things to talk about.
Okay. In at number 4... and obviously we're into all the snaps now.
Yeah.
Season 8 starts with Terror of the Autons.
Nice.
And what can you say about this one? I think you waxed very lyrical about this one, Dave, so I won't touch on everything you said, but I have to say that yes, it introduces the Master. Yes, it really starts to bed in the Unit family. Yes, we've got Holmes writing. Barry Letts is involved. Yes, it's in colour, and more families were probably getting colour TV sets at this time. And it's such a colourful story. To be in colour, you think of the Autons getting around with those big heads and those colourful blazers handing out daffodils and all of that. Just wonderful, just amazing. In at number 3, season 5, Tomb of the Cybermen. A story that was lost for so long and everyone dreamed about, and then it was found. And for some, it was everything they ever wanted, and for others, it wasn't as good as their imagination. And over time, I think people have even flip-flopped on it, and some have even picked up on elements that wouldn't fly today. And while some shrug and say, well, it was the 60s, others let it define their whole attitude to the story, and they just about cancel the whole thing. But me, I like it. It has a vibe. I mean, come on, an archaeological dig on an alien world, that is super sci-fi. It's a great story. I love it. In at number 2.
Oh, which are you going to go for? I reckon you've got to go for those 2. All right, let's see.
Season 7, Spearhead from Space. And you might be surprised this isn't higher on my list, Dave, even though I've wedged it in here at number 2. But I think this position feels right. What can we say? A great story, Doctor Who in colour for the first time. And of course, as you mentioned, shot entirely on film, which wasn't the plan, but because of that BBC strike, gee, there's a rare thing in the 70s, they ended up shooting it on film, and it just looks glorious. And while something like The Invasion from the previous year, we've said this before, feels a bit like prototype Pertwee, this feels light years from the previous season in a general sense. Think of all the other stories in that season. This is nothing like them. It's wonderful. And in at number 1, Season 25, Remembrance of the Daleks.
I had written it in before you said it.
This is a story from when I was majorly into fandom, and I even appeared on a segment on the ABC before it went out, as long-time listeners of this show will know. But that's not why it makes my number 1 spot. It's here because the story is not just good, but it made a mockery of what Doctor Who had been for years. A good deal of 80s Who I frankly cringed at, even as a kid. And even though I was a fan and I got it, in quotation marks, I still knew it didn't look good and often wasn't well acted and so on. I wasn't going to show it to my friends. Then this came out and I was just transfixed, like, I'm going to say this, like never before, at what Doctor Who could be. It was breathtaking, mind-blowing, just... What is this voodoo? I couldn't believe it. So it is definitely my number 1.
That's fantastic. I said right at the start that I reckon we'd snap on at least our top 2, and although they were in reverse order, we absolutely did. Look, I don't know there's much more to say about Spearhead and Remembrance. They are fantastic stories, and they are proper season openers.
Yeah. I want to talk about what got bumped for Leisure Hive, and was it Horror of Fang Rock? So...
I'll start at the back end of that question and say it wasn't Horror of Fang Rock.
Oh my God, Dave.
And this is an interesting point. Well, I say it's an interesting point. Who knows? We'll see. The listeners can judge that. This is a point I make that may be interesting. I thought about Horror of Fang Rock a lot because it is a great story. And if I was doing top 5 stories that happen to be season openers, I would have gone with Horror of Fang Rock. Mm-hmm. But when I thought about Horror of Fang Rock, there's nothing in that to me says this is a season opener. It's not particularly reflective of the season that's about to come. It doesn't have anything to particularly grip you in or grab the audience. And in fact, I was thinking about back in the days when I used to watch the Tom Baker era, and it was just a long series of repeats, multiple seasons at a time, running Monday to Friday at 6:30 on the ABC. Just one story merged into the other. And there are times in that where a story comes along and you go, oh, this would have been the start of a new season. Horror of Fang Rock never had that vibe. You go from season 14 into 15 without really noticing that there's anything particularly going on there. So was it a great story? Yes. Did I feel it was a season opener? Not really. So what was bumped for me was the Ribos operation.
Okay.
Because that's a story that I have really come to enjoy. But as a season opener, it's so clear that this is the start of a whole new season-long story. You have the whole thing with the White Guardian, and he sets up the mission, and they're off to find the key to time, and he's got a new companion. So this is unambiguously a season opener, and perhaps where others have set up a tone or a theme or some ongoing elements for seasons, like the Master or the Unit story or Monsters, this sets up an entire ongoing story for a season. So I thought it was very, very possible to have the Ribos operation in there. And in the end, I went with the Leisure Hive just because the overt nature of, hey, everyone, this is a new thing, got it up there. If I was doing my top 5 favourite stories that happen to be season openers, Leisure Hive wouldn't make the list.
Yeah, well, I guess I was doing probably more of the latter, to be honest, with my list.
Sure.
But when I think of the classic era, I don't kind of think in terms of season openers, and it's because I don't really think of season finales either. In the classic era, season finales were not a thing. So many seasons just end on a story, and it just ends, and that's that. And it doesn't sort of leave you on a cliffhanger or leave you with the thought, oh my God, that was an epic end to the season. And because of that, I've never kind of looked at the flip side of the coin, which is the opener, and thought, oh yeah, that's a really wild opener. Like I don't look at Warriors of the Deep and say, oh, that's a really wild opener to that season. Or, you know, sometimes your season opener is the regeneration story and they're interesting in their own right. But there's seasons that just kick off and I don't see anything particularly special about the opening either. You know, which is why I thought we'd have a lot of snaps here, because it was just so obvious to me which were the big stories in terms of openers. But that's always was my sense as a kid, Dave, that Classic didn't really have openers or finales. Am I wrong?
No, I think that's pretty accurate, with maybe a couple of exceptions. I think Barry Letts did do season openers in a more deliberate way probably than anybody else. He did do the whole launch of the Master for Season 8. He got the Daleks back for Season 9. He got 3 Doctors together for Season 10. Like, he was one who was looking at that. And I think that Philip Hinchcliffe was the one who looked at the season finale, who'd go, right, let's hold some money back, let's do a big epic 6-parter to wrap up the season. And he did try to do that. But you're right, Doctor Who wasn't in the way that the modern series is now about the season opener and the season finale. And where this was interesting for me was I did look very closely at Terror of the Zygons, because I think that's a fantastic story. But when I thought about it more, I thought, it actually does work better as a big season finale, which is what it was meant to be, rather than a season opener.
Yeah, and look, that's fair comment about Letts and Hinchcliffe, but of course they're only 2 producers out of 26 years of the show too, so... Yes,
yeah, no, absolutely, they are the exception to the rule, and
yeah.
even J&T, who, you know, we generally talk about as having a mind towards that selling of the show, doesn't really do the big season openers all that much, and was consistently, both as a production unit manager and a producer, consistently guilty of having the money run out before the big season finale. You know, Armageddon Factor, Time Flight. You can run through the list of the money run out season finales for J&T's era involved in the production.
Oh, and look, just with regard to J&T, wasn't it J&T when Saward was like, let's end Trial of a Time Lord with the Doctor and the Valeyard falling off into space or the vortex or whatever the hell it was on a cliffhanger, and J&T was like, no, we can't do that.
Yeah,
he didn't want a big finale.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, I think you're right. Although Letts and Hinchcliffe, you know, 2 fantastic producers, did get it a bit more than others. It's not a big thing. Rob, no. I want to ask quickly before we run out of time. An Unearthly Child. Neither of us have mentioned it. I ruled it out because I thought it's not really a season opener, it's a show opener. What about yourself?
My simple answer would be, whenever I think of that story, I only ever think of the first episode. and compared to these other stories, which are complete stories of multiple episodes, it just doesn't stack up.
Yeah, look, I think it does stack up in that whole 4 episodes to put the team together. But I just thought it's almost a cheat to put the season 1 opener in there. I think it's not really launching a season, it's launching a show. So,
yeah.
But it's also, look, I mean, you know, could it beat Remembrance of the Daleks or The Spearhead from Space? Well, no.
No.
So look, that's fair enough. Listeners, we have had, I think, record snaps on this one. Please let us know if you thought those 4 we snapped on were worthy, or did we miss something really obvious?
And would you have picked a favourite story that was a season opener, or a story that makes for a great season opener, which seems to be the tipping point for the 2 of us here?
Yeah, please tweet us, message us, email us. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this. But it's time now to reach into Turlo's Hat of Wrestling.
Yes.
Next month, our topic. Oh, and this is an amalgamation of several ideas that several listeners have sent in.
Mm-hmm.
Top 5 historical settings you'd like to see.
Oh, there's so many to choose.
There's so many to choose from, but...
Oh, man.
Also, in some ways not. Okay. Well,
where are you going with that?
Yeah, I wonder where look, I do as well. I've got a month to work it all out. Listeners, thank you as always for listening. We hope you enjoyed. I hope you also had 4 snaps with us. If you didn't, let us know. But we'll be back in a month. Until then, you've been Rob.
You've been Dave.
And we'll make some more lists soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Goodbye.